You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.
Hey guys!
Hello.
Welcome back to The Ugly Truth. George and Christina Markoski. I'm excited. It's 2018 and I wanted just a quick catch up on what's been happening and everything else like that. Christina and I have been very busy working the business.
We have, yeah.
We do property mentoring and help people with property, and we've been working on that, and it's been a lot of fun, but it's taken up a lot of our time, and I've really missed podcasting, to be honest with you.
I know, we've been flying to Melbourne, back to Adelaide, then back to Melbourne, back to Adelaide. I feel like Melbourne's become my second home.
It already is my second home. My second heart, no, Auckland's my second home. That's where my heart is, Macedonia. But look, what we're going to talk about today is, I want to first start off about this year. We did a lot of goal setting at the beginning of the year, as we do. Mm-hmm. And what I did this year, something different, is I used the Seinfeld method. And the Seinfeld method is if you do something consistently every day and tick it off on a calendar, it's harder to not do it because of that.
Because you can see your trend.
Yes, you can see, because you've got so much, every day you've got more to lose. So, which really works well. So what I did is I'm doing the Seinfeld method now. I've got a big calendar in the bathroom. And thank you for letting me put a big calendar in there. And I mark all my little things on there. And the one main thing that I've been doing this year is I've actually committed to having 365 cold showers this year.
Wow.
And so far, every single day I've had one. Now, the beauty of this is I've started in summer to make it easier. So it's getting colder now, but it's only one day at a time. So by winter, I think I won't be able to feel it. And I'm finding every day it becomes easier because you create a habit. And, you know, first time you have a cold shower, you have that perception that it's uncomfortable and everything else like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of the reason you feel it's uncomfortable is because you're not used to the sensation.
The funny thing was, I did 30 days of cold showers. Then you saw me do that and you were like, oh, if you can do that, so can I. And that's when you started doing it.
Absolutely.
After I got to past the 30 days, I just kept going. But then it got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to see what warm showers like again. And then I sort of fell out of that. But now I'd say I do a cold shower always after a sauna. So I do hot and cold therapy. And I probably do cold showers at least 3 or 4 days out of the complete week because it's just so good to wake you up.
And it's quicker.
And it's quicker, yeah.
Oh, by the way, I have a warm shower afterwards. So I don't just have a cold shower. I have 2 minutes cold and then I have a nice shower afterwards.
See, I just do the cold because otherwise I'll never get out.
Yeah, I'll get out because I've got a lot of things to do during the day. Anyway, so that's one of the things. Also, this year I completed a 96-hour dry fast. That means no water, no food.
And you lost a lot of weight from that.
Yes, I did. And look at this. Yep, look at that. Now, I was, because I've been measuring my waist every day this year. Mm-hmm. And I was averaging 87 to 88 centimetres in January, and now I'm about 84 on average now.
So for people listening to the audio, that was just George showing everyone his abs.
Yes. And now basically, when I was 22, my waist was 82 centimetres, and my goal is to get back to 22. I'm nearly there, so very close. So there you go. That's what we've been doing. Also, in regards to dry fasting, listen to our episode about dry fasting, and it's really good. You'll find that on the episode list. But today I'm going to talk about a book that has finally put all the pieces together for me. Mm-hmm. I'm wrapped. Like I've been on a journey on spirituality to learn more about spirituality, Buddhism, Stoicism, those things for a long time. And someone recommended this book. Actually, it was Tim Ferriss. And it was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
A Subtle Art of Not Giving a Duck. Replace the D with an F.
Okay,
because we're a family-friendly show.
A Counterintuitive Approach to Living a Good Life by Mark Manson. Right? This guy's a genius. I love this guy. He's awesome. He's fantastic. So make sure you buy his book because it's worth it. Since I was in grade 3, I've been reading 1 book, now 2 books a week for my whole life. So I've read a lot of books. And because I've read so many books, I would say that I know a lot about them, and my opinion does count because I've got more experience. That's what it's all about. So nothing about ego. Now,
you've just consumed a lot of content, so you can tell the difference between, what's valuable and what's
for my personality, I suppose. Anyway, this is probably the best book that I've read. But part of the reason is because of my journey and how it clicked everything together.
Okay.
So it may not necessarily be the best book for you, but it should be up there and it's a must read.
Especially if you're into like self-improvement and everything like
If you're
that,
into
well-being.
Buddhism, Stoicism, spirituality, self-improvement, living the best life you can, this is the book.
Absolutely.
So what I've done is I've taken some notes in the book and I've also written some notes of my own because a lot of this does... The funny thing is, Mark Manson, he's had a lot of similar experiences to me in his life, funny enough, in his book. So I really feel a connection to him. And so I've had a lot of similar experiences and I'm going to be talking a bit about what he's written and a bit about my experiences. And we're going to discuss the book and discuss what I've learnt and everything else. So be mindful. I might have to go down and read certain parts, but I really want to get this through to you. And it's very important. So I apologise in advance.
I've only just started reading the book myself. I started reading it before George started reading it, funny enough.
I didn't want to read it.
But because I'm already in the middle of reading 2 other books, I've sort of gone, right, I have to finish what I've already started. So I'm going to read those 2 books first and then continue on with this one.
Yeah, so the title actually, I didn't like the title. I thought the subtle art of not hitting a duck.
A bit crass.
It's a bit crass. I thought, no, I don't know. But Tim Ferriss recommended it, so I bought the book and I was sitting in the bath and I started reading it. I read a few pages and didn't get into it, so I didn't bother.
Oh, wow.
And
How
then-
many years ago was this?
Oh, that only came out recently, so it wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
Then what happened was my friend Belinda in Melbourne bought it, chatted in a sauna, and you had a sauna and you started reading it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it, and I thought, I'm going to revisit it because what the hell? And that was because of your recommendation. And
Well,
then
the
what
reason
happened
it came up was because I started obviously reading it in Melbourne, couldn't finish reading it because
you're
I had
like,
to fly back to Adelaide and
was,
leave
she
the
makes
book
me buy
there.
all the Amazon stuff because I've got an account.
But I've
It's
got
all
my
linked.
Kindle, so obviously I said, George, I really want to continue reading this book. Can you please put it on my Kindle? And when you heard what it was,
I thought, okay, I'll put it on your Kindle, I'll put it on mine, and I started reading it that night. Anyway, we were in bed about 10:15, and I started reading it. And then
he just stayed up all night.
Then there was 4 in the morning when I finished, and I'd be writing notes, and
Crazy.
I really had an epiphany, and I woke up ecstatic and amazed. Like, how happy was I? I still am, actually. I'm still on a high, so this is good. And the reason I was on a high is because I really feel, and I know it's going to be a big statement, but I really feel that I found the meaning of life.
Wow.
Okay? And I feel that Mark has conceptualized it in a very simple way for me to understand. Because I've read about the Buddha, I've read about Buddhism, Stoicism, and I've done NLP therapy, all sorts of stuff that's led me along from different paths. And today I'm going to talk about how those paths are similar and how they reflect each other, and it's all one universal truth,
Okay.
right? Which is, sounds very spiritual as well, because it is. And I've always wanted to be more spiritual. I didn't know how to, and now finally I found it, and I'm there, which is amazing. Okay, so
Stop.
this is the first statement that I'm going to make. Okay, the desire for more positive experience is in itself a negative experience. One's negative experience and paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is in itself a positive experience. Let's talk about that. Wrap your head around that, because that's really, when I heard that, it was like, wow. But it's true. And they call it the backwards law because it's so backwards. And most of the things when it comes to meaning of life are actually completely backwards to what you think. And that's why I want to discuss it today. I'm going to talk about how everything's the opposite of what you think. Right?
Okay.
So wanting a better experience, that is the problem.
Right. So you should be happy with the experience you're having. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so no, you don't need to be happy with it. You need to accept it.
Be content.
Yes, you need to be content. You need to accept it, because life only happens one moment at a time, right? And it's impossible to be in ecstasy all the time. So wanting a better experience means that you're not being mindful or present. It means you're being in the future thinking about a better experience.
What about not only accepting the experience you're having now, but thinking about it more positively, like almost bringing gratefulness into it?
Okay, I think that's good. Mark in his book doesn't like thinking positive, but I disagree. That's one thing we disagree on.
Okay.
I think that with every experience, it's like a dark cloud, the silver lining. You've got to look at the silver lining, and you've got to see what the advantage of it is. You don't have to look. There's a lot of intellectual stuff we're talking about here, right? And I think you don't have to make a lot of intellectual gymnastics. All you got to do is accept it. You don't have to worry about thinking positive, negative, or anything really. Just accept it. It's a lot easier because what I'm going to be talking about today is really easy, really simple, but hard to do.
Okay.
So trying to conceptualize it, it's not the right thing to do. So any experience you've got, just accept it. And don't wish for a different one.
Don't accept it for good or for bad.
No,
just accept it.
Don't try to make it good. Don't try to make it bad. Just accept it. Because a lot of experiences are shit. And they're not good. And you can't change that fact. So you've just got to accept it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because in life, I suppose, you've got what you can control and what you can't control. And anything out of your control, you have to accept. And anything in your control, you need to create. That's it. There's no other way. So this is like amazing. So that's the challenge. See, we live in a consumer society where all the ads are coming at you and society's coming at you to want a different positive experience.
And telling you the one that you're currently having isn't good enough. So you need to, get a bigger house, buy a better car, you need better clothes, you need to be traveling more, going on more holidays, spending more money to consume.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Mark tells about the story about this prince, and he had a really rich father, right? And when he had this baby, he wanted to protect it from the outside world. He didn't want him to see any negativity or nothing. He was going to let it grow up in the lap of luxury, the best food, the best entertainment, within the four walls of the big palace, and lived happily ever after. He wanted him to be happy. Now, this son was sort of, living in every need attended to. He had no problems whatsoever, nothing at all. And he even there was a pleasure room where they'd bring in prostitutes from the outside. And they'd talk about the outside world. And he was fascinated because it sounded so different to the outside world. And then one day he snuck out and had a look and saw real suffering. And he saw what it was like. And he was appalled and shocked. But his life of no challenges, of nothing, was empty. And he wanted meaning. And he realised that at that stage, that's what he was thinking, that's what he needed to do. So what he did, he decided he was going to change his life for the better and really find the meaning of life. So what he did, he left his father, he disowned his family, left every cent that he had, and became a beggar living in the gutters.
Wow, he gave it all up.
Right? And he was starving for food. Sometimes he'd eat one nut a day, and he was punished by disease and poverty and cold and everything else you could think of. And after years and years and years of this, he came to a realisation that it didn't give him any insight or anything. Right?
He punished himself for no reason.
So this is a realisation he had, that life itself is suffering. Right? And the rich suffer because they're riches, right? The poor suffer because of their poverty. People without a family suffer because they haven't got a family. People with a family suffer because they've got a family. People that pursue worldly pleasures suffer because of that, and people that abstain from worldly pleasures suffer from abstaining. So the thing is, that's just the way it is. So the suffering, because he was rich and he thought he suffered because he was rich, but being poor didn't help it. Just like if you're poor, being rich ain't going to help either, right? So, but that doesn't mean all suffering is not equal. I mean, like a bum on the street has got money problems. So does Elon Musk, but there are different classes of money problems.
How does Elon Musk have money problems?
Okay, well, he almost went bankrupt several times. At the moment, his stocks have gone down, and he's got money problems.
He's got the ability, though.
But what I'm saying is, to achieve his goals, he's got money problems. So, he's sleeping, actually at the moment, I read that he's actually sleeping on a couch at the Tesla factory. And he regrets having all those robots because they're not producing nearly as much as what he's hoping to do.
Wow.
Right?
Do you know if that's true or fake news?
I'm not sure because...
It sounds like fake news.
Not sure, but it could be good publicity if you did it. But
he's got a good work ethic, but I can't personally picture someone of that level sleeping on a couch.
Look, at the end of the day, when you're passionate about something, you do whatever. And if he's there in the factory, he might be sleeping in the factory, and that's more of a metaphor. You know what I mean? Because I don't know how far the factory is from his house or whatever. But I don't know. But regardless, the thing is, whether you're Elon Musk or a bum on the street, you still all got problems, right? Now, some suffering is more painful than other suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's all very like personal perception as well at the end of the day. Like you don't know what sort of suffering someone else is going through because you can never walk in their shoes.
That's right. And the thing is, the challenge is people that want, see, what does everyone want? If you ask everyone, what are you looking for? What do they say? Happiness, right? That's the fact.
Not everyone.
Okay. A lot of people have that on the top 10, top 5, top 3.
Okay.
Would you like happiness?
Absolutely.
I think I would want
I
happiness.
think that's the most important thing in the world.
Well, I think most humans would think the same.
Health and happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, right, this is the way the equation goes. You know, person A will say, okay, if I achieve X, then I'll be happy. Right?
Yeah.
But what happens?
You get there, and then you're happy for a week or two, and then it dies down.
Well, you think about Olympians, right? They train 4 years straight, grueling training. And then finally, there they are. And even the ones that win a gold medal afterwards are depressed. Because
they've hit their goal, and they've got nothing after that.
that's right. It's like, that's it. And see, but when was the happiest time for them?
When they were training to
When
get
they were
there.
training to get there. Now, was that easy? No,
No.
it was hard. But that was the moment, see? So, it's like,
It's like understanding that the journey is the way.
see, happiness is not a solvable equation.
Yeah,
Right?
because you're always going to be chasing happiness. Like, you're going to reach your goal, and then you're going to be looking for something bigger and better to get to your next level.
Well, the thing is, dissatisfaction and unease are normal parts of humanity. Now, so what basically, we're omnivores, right? So we evolved to be curious and check things out and do things. Now, omnivores and most mammals have got a certain amount of dissatisfaction and curiosity because that's what drives progress.
Yeah.
If you were satisfied, then we wouldn't have built houses and pyramids and gone to space. We would have been satisfied, like
Doing, the same thing.
Well, see, look at herbivores like a cow. A cow's just sitting there eating grass, the same meal. They're happy. We're omnivore. We want variety. We want different
absolutely.
food. So a cow would not build a rocket to go to the moon because they're satisfied sitting there eating grass.
They
right?
don't have the ability or the drive.
Well, a bit hard their hooves, right? See, part of the reason we suffer, and this is the main reason, is because it's biologically useful.
To protect us from danger so we can survive.
Well, okay, let's say, for example, you put your hand on a hot plate. What happens?
You get the pain receptors and you
It
burn
burns, it hurts,
yourself.
you get pain, right?
Yes,
You suffer.
obviously. Yes.
Now, is that suffering useful?
Yes,
Yes,
because
so
you're
stop
training
burning
yourself.
your hand off, right?
Yeah, it's teaching you not to put yourself in danger.
Yeah, so whenever your body exceeds its human limit, you get a whole dose of pain to teach you a lesson because that's the only way your body knows of help control you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be controlled.
Obviously.
So, and people that can't feel pain, they hurt themselves all the time. And they have, you know what I mean? Because they can't feel it. So pain is actually very important and biologically very useful. And that's physical pain. There's also emotional pain. And emotional pain is useful too. So if you get loneliness, as humans, we evolved to be in groups.
Right.
So if you got emotional pain of loneliness, it pushes you to meet more people.
Become
right?
less
Because you need it.
lonely.
Yeah, right? So all pain, you could say, is a trigger for action.
Oh,
Right?
okay,
So
yeah.
suffering makes you act, right?
Gotcha.
See, we have evolved to always live with a certain degree of dissatisfaction and insecurity. Because the mold of dissatisfied and insecure creatures going to do the most work to innovate and survive. We're wired to become dissatisfied with whatever we have. And satisfied by only what we do not have. Doesn't that suck? Right? But this is, Wall Street's dream. Because, funny enough, the whole capitalism and corporations are built on us.
Consumer society, yeah.
Consumer society is built on our actual biology.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? It's our biology
Of
because
course it is, yeah. That's why marketing triggers certain things in your brain and makes you want to go buy things.
yes, but it's actually a human trait to want to buy things to be happier too. Funny enough, see, the funny
It does
thing is,
bring a lot of people temporary happiness.
yeah, this constant dissatisfaction of this human species is what made us rise and go forward, and it's created civilization. If we were satisfied, we wouldn't have, caveman sitting in there going, someone goes, oh, look, I'm not satisfied with walking, I've invented the wheel. He's like, oh, what's the point of having a wheel, right? You know what I mean? So the funny thing is, it's not a bug. It's actually a feature for us.
Okay.
Yeah. But obviously, it comes across sometimes the wrong way.
What's your point?
Well, as much as pain is painful, it's so useful.
Yeah, for evolution,
For everything.
obviously.
But even emotional pain, a lot of emotional pain is very useful too. That's why it's there.
Because you learn from your mistakes and you learn to not make the same mistakes again and again.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of being human, because a lot of animals can't conceptualize and can't imagine themselves in really painful situations. But fortunately, as humans, we can, or unfortunately. So it's really easy for someone to worry. I mean, worry is a way of self-torture and giving yourself suffering. So worry is definitely suffering, and it's giving it to yourself. About all the times people worry about something in the future that hasn't happened, and all they're doing is running that film around their head, imagining themselves in all these horrible situations, giving themselves pain. Now, a dog can't do that, so they're very fortunate. They can only have physical
Because they're
pain.
only in the here and now.
That's right.
They're present.
They're present.
Yes.
Because when you're present, you can't suffer.
That's why they're so happy.
Christina, you're a genius. So that's what meditation is all about.
Well, that's what separates humans from animals. You know, we've got the ability
To not be present.
think forward.
And that ability fucks with our brain. Excuse
Like when we
language.
figured out we were going to die, we invented religion.
Totally. And finding out, having the ability to think about time and temporal, that was the big moment where people said, oh shit, we're going to die one day. Because dog doesn't know that. The
No.
giraffe doesn't know. It just lives
They're just
in
living
the moment,
in the here and now. Yeah.
And there's something special about living in the moment. It's pretty amazing. And I think that as humans, we need to get that ability back.
We need to be more present.
Well, we do, because being present that's the only way to stop suffering.
I must say, like, I get so caught up with working and moving forward towards my goals that I do find it very hard to be present, and I just think about getting on to the next thing that I need to do and getting not distracted from doing that and staying on my path. So I'm constantly focused on what I need to do next to achieve things, which I find it challenging to be present most of the time.
I find that being present is very peaceful, and it's really good for you. And that was our natural state in the past, being present. And now, with our society, it's hard to be present. But I think it's very, very important. And that's...
Because depression is thinking about the past, and then anxiety is worrying about the future.
Yes.
So that's why people
It's
get
all temporal.
depression and anxiety. It's like really relevant in this society.
That's right. It's relevant because we're always not now.
Not present.
Not at now.
Yeah.
We're robbing the now, using the past and the future, which doesn't really exist, because only the now really exists.
Yeah.
We talk about this in our Time podcast. Now, so this is what's dangerous about society, it says, that coddles itself more and more from discomforts of life. We lose the benefits of experiencing healthy doses of pain. See, you've got all these people now that want their safe space and they get offended and triggered. Now, the problem is when you're getting offended and triggered, and I'm not trying to diminish anyone that is getting offended or triggered, because they might get offended and triggered by this. But
Warning. Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. The thing is, right, by getting triggered, you're missing out on that whole pain thing by trying to avoid it. See, when you try to avoid pain...
I think you mean by saying that you can't get triggered. You just said getting triggered avoids pain.
No, you're trying to avoid pain by getting triggered.
Oh,
but
okay.
you're creating pain.
Yeah.
So you need to accept it. See,
Yeah.
So what happens is if something causes pain to you, getting triggered and pushing it away is a big exaggerated thing, and by wanting a more positive state, you're creating them. That's why it's negative. But if you were to accept that feeling, right, then it doesn't matter anymore. There's no triggering.
Obviously.
So by being present, you're not going to get triggered. And being triggered is really not good. Don't do it. I'm serious. Just don't do it. It's a waste of time.
Easier said than done.
I know, but you shouldn't get triggered. You should really...
But a lot of people get triggered even when people aren't trying to trigger them, because they've got emotions attached to certain words and certain things. But that's what they need to get over themselves.
Well, look, the problem is we live in a society where a lot of people are trying to avoid pain at any cost. But the challenge is that is the problem. Avoiding pain. By not avoiding pain, you solve it. Now, easier said than done, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of
No,
a...
I agree.
So you might see, a lot of people might salivate at the thought of a problem-free life, right? And go, how awesome it would be to have no problems and no nothing, right? And, have everlasting happiness, or go up, when you die, go up to
But
heaven.
you wouldn't know it's happiness because you wouldn't have a contrast.
But not only that, here on Earth, problems never cease, right? They just never end. That's just the fact of it. The only people who don't have problems are people who are dead, right? Mm-hmm. There's no such thing. So that's a part of life. You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because life is essentially just an endless series of problems. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. Now, we can go, oh my God. Because a lot of people wish that life was easier and wish they could just make all this money and then they don't have to do anything. Mm. But look, you got Kerry, is it Kerry Packer or James Packer, right? Mm-hmm. He's a billionaire. He apparently was suicidal recently and he's gone into some rehab for depression.
Wasn't he engaged to Mariah Carey?
Yeah, he was. So most people think, wow, this guy got engaged to Mariah Carey, he's a billionaire, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be happy?
He seems like he's got everything, yeah.
But unfortunately, no, he's not happy. And that's because running away from your problems, whether you're loaded or poor, it's not going to help. Right? Because life is essentially endless series of problems. And the first thing you have to realise it is, and you need to accept that it is. And once you accept that it's an endless series of problems, life becomes a lot easier. Right?
Okay.
So don't hope for a life without problems. There's no such thing. Instead, hope for a life with good problems. And that's the part I want to talk about, which is the fun part. Because what happens is, everyone started at a different place in the world of everything else, where you were born, who your parents are, you're growing up and everything else like that.
Gender,
right?
yeah.
Gender, whatever. So different people have got different head start and challenges and whatever. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make you special. There's 7 billion people in the world. So whatever problems you're having, there's someone with a worse problem than you right now.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That is. And I don't care how big your problem is. There's someone with a bigger problem. So, you know what I mean? Don't worry about that. The thing is...
That really puts things in perspective.
What we need to do is, no matter how big or small your problem is we start one problem at a time, get that problem, and you solve it.
Yeah, just figure it out and then move on.
Well, no. You don't move on. Because what happens is you solve the problem, and the good news is, as soon as you solve it, you're going to get another one straight away.
That's why I said move on
to
your next problem.
No, I thought move on from solve problem.
No. Yes. Solve one problem and then
move on to your next
one. Hello.
But the beautiful thing is once you solve one, the next problem you get is slightly better than the last one.
You get a better problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, slightly better problem.
That's great.
So it's a bit like this. The bum on the street collecting money to eat, right? Mm-hmm. His problem is probably not as good as Elon Musk's problem to get an extra $1 billion to build awesome cars.
Yeah.
Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, of
They've
course.
both got problems, but which problem would you rather have?
I'd rather be Elon.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the fact of it. So there's nothing, because and the reason Elon is at that stage, he solved a lot of problems to get there.
Yeah, obviously.
And loved it. Mm-hmm. And worked diligently to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is, happiness comes from solving problems.
Yeah, I agree. I get a lot of pleasure out of helping people solve their challenges.
Yeah, you do. Exactly.
Particularly in my job, in my industry.
With property.
Helping people invest in property is not easy. And a lot of people make mistakes, and helping them fix their current portfolio is really rewarding to see the massive change and impact it has on people's lives.
It's
and
amazing.
then help them get a great investment, and then to see, the results from having an awesome investment property. It's just really rewarding that I get to help other people, create financial freedom in their lives.
Christina, it's exactly. And the thing is, what you do in these people, and I've seen this, you do it many times, is they'll start with a problem that's pretty shit, right? And now they're not devoid of problems, but they've got much better problems. Where do we buy our next house? What do we do with the equity? What do we do? We've got a new tenant to come in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
much better problem. It's still a problem though. So getting investment properly solves one problem, creates more problems. But it creates better problems. And me now, I've got so many properties, I've got more problems, but it's a good problem to have, having lots of property. It's not bad. You know what I mean? So the thing is, it's like, if you're unfit and you want to solve the problem, what do you need to do? Go to the gym. The gym gives you more problems. You've got to get up, you've got to get your luggage with you, you've got to pay for the gym, you've got to drive there. So It is. Let's say you want a better relationship with your partner and you decide from now on we're going to have date night, Friday or Saturday. Solves one problem.
You got to figure out where to go.
That's right, exactly.
Which restaurants have got your dietary requirements.
That's right, exactly.
But good problem to have,
Good
really.
problem to have,
It's a first world problem.
It's a better problem than solving a relationship problem, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So each problem actually gets better. See how that happens? So happiness comes from solving problems. The key word here is solving. See, if you're avoiding your problems, that's not going to keep you happy, all right? That's probably one of the worst things you can do. So people that avoid problems, they end up trying to avoid it using drugs, alcohol, or sex, or gambling, or something, you know what I mean? To ignore their problems.
Is that because they can like focus their energy on that and then they don't have to worry about
It's a kind of meditation
things
if you're
in real
focused
life?
on an addiction. Yeah. But the problem is they're running away from their problems. It's not good. And see, if you feel like you don't have any problems, and if you run away from your problems, you're going to feel miserable. Because that's why Buddha, when he was rich and had no problems, was miserable. Because having no problems is
You just feel nothing.
It's misery.
Yeah.
It's misery. And this is the weird part. So what happened was, I worked really hard to buy properties to retire. Right? Worked my ass off. And when I first started, I made all the normal mistakes investors make. And the journey was hard, but I went through the pain of doing it. And in the end, I found a really good system, and I ended up retiring. Right?
Yeah.
And making money without getting out of bed. Right? I was making probably about $180,000 without getting out of bed. Right?
So pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. I was living on the beach, didn't have to work, and I had plenty of money. I was traveling, partying, having a good time. But I had no real problems.
And that was your problem.
That was no. I know this sounds stupid, but
Oh, poor George.
no. Seriously, it was.
Poor Georgie.
Look, anyway, and I was travelling around, and I was fortunate to meet a lot of cool people. And at this stage of my life, I actually met Tim Ferriss, and I was at a dinner with Tim Ferriss in Melbourne, and I remember that night, and when I met Tim, and Tim, really cool guy, you know what I mean? And I think I felt like he was a bit shy at first, and we had a glass of wine, had a bit of a chat, and he really opened up, and he's such a fascinating guy. He's amazing. And he inspires me, and we talked about different things, and I sort of talked about the 4-hour work week and how I wasn't working. And Tim said, look, the 4-hour work week is about 4 hours of doing something you don't want to do, but you've still got to fill your life with passion. You know what I mean? And what I got out of it is, if you've seen that circle, it says, if you're great at it, the world needs it, you get paid for it, and you love it. That's your passion. And
Because you need a purpose.
you need a purpose. And you need a purpose, or you need a vehicle to get you cool
need
problems.
Something
you need
to
something.
wake you up early in the
keep
morning,
you up late
keep
at
you
night.
up late at night. Yeah.
Exactly. This is amazing. So what happened was, after meeting Tim, I got that whole idea, and it just came to me that I was going to help people invest in property and start an education mentoring company.
Yeah.
Now, there was endless problems and still lots of challenges when you start a big company and you start doing things, right? And then you're dealing with people and you've got to help them. And people are always going, why, if you're retired, would you do this and work hard?
Yeah.
And look, the reason being is you're not happy doing nothing.
No.
And I feel that now that I've got a purpose and I'm doing something, and I get up early and I work hard and I'm always thinking about solving different problems.
It's very challenging, but also rewarding.
It's so rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're never going to, every time we solve one challenge in a business, there's another challenge, right? Being an entrepreneur is hard, but it's a fun challenge, and each challenge is better. You know
It's
what I
not
mean?
easy, but it's so worthwhile.
Yeah, so when we first started, the challenge is, let's get some clients. That's a big challenge. Now, we've got too many clients. What do we do? Now, it's a good problem to have, because you've got too many people that want to join your program. But it's still a challenge, because we want to make sure we look after everyone. And now I'm going to be starting doing videos on a weekly basis to train everyone. So that way I can spread myself out a bit more, which is going to be great. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but it's just going to be challenging. Now I've got to do more stuff on the internet and learn how to use it. I'm doing my first live webcast.
And we always feel like there's never enough time.
There never is.
You can never get enough done, no matter how much you try and get done in one day. You get to the end of the day and go, oh, I just haven't done enough on my to-do list.
Totally. And, you know, and when we first started the business, we're spending more money than making on the business. And I was saying to Christina, I'd make more money if I did nothing. It's true. However, I wouldn't be satisfied. And I'd rather be doing something exciting and creating.
But it's also giving back to the community as
Yeah.
well, and helping, our fellow Australians.
That's right. So the secret sauce is actually finding really cool problems. And if you help develop yourself and improve, you can get better problems to solve, which is awesome. Right? So to be happy, let me read from the book again. To be happy, you need something to solve. Happiness is therefore a form of action. It's an activity, not something bestowed on you. Right? So not something that you magically discover in a top 10 article in Huffington Post or something like that. It doesn't magically appear one day when you earn enough money.
Right.
I realised that myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I became a self-made millionaire before the age of 30. And I was happy anyway, so I'm not saying that I was depressed, right?
Yeah.
However, becoming a self-made millionaire, when I realised I was happy for a few minutes, and that was it. You know what I mean? It didn't change my life at all.
Yeah, it was just a number.
Yeah. So happiness is a constant work in progress. So the solutions of all our problems today are just the foundation of our problems tomorrow, which is beautiful.
Okay.
So true happiness occurs only when you find the problems you enjoy having and solving. And that's why people like Elon Musk and Anthony Robbins and people like that have become very successful. Well, one, they love what they do and they're solving problems and they're getting very good at it, because the better you become at solving problems, the more value you produce. And the better you are. Right? So this is it. Whatever problems you have, the concept is that was a bit of a slip up, but maybe on purpose, because you are your problem. Because what happens is projection is reality. So the whole world around you is just a projection of your internal self. So we interpret everything, and because of that, your problems are you, really.
Is that the very...
No. I just said that. Nothing to do with the book. Right? So for a lot of people, it doesn't feel that simple. So this is the two ways people stuff up. One, they deny that they have problems in the first place. They deny reality and constantly delude themselves about it.
Right,
And people like that, to deny their problems,
yeah,
usually,
like...
they get home from work and have 2 bottles of wine.
Well, admitting you've got a problem is the first step to solving it, obviously. If you don't even admit that you've got a challenge, then how could you ever become a better person and solve it?
The problem is, if you deny you've got problems, because everyone has, so if you're saying now, if you look at me right now, if you haven't got a problem, you're lying. You need to find it. If you deny you've got problems, and you're going to try to solve it by escaping in regards to drugs and alcohol and all that, it's a short-term fix, but it keeps compounding and it gets worse and worse. Mm-hmm. You need to face up to it, right? Because it's going to lead to a life of insecurity and emotional repression.
So where's the best place to start then?
Find your first problem. The problem is you haven't admitted you got one. That's your first problem. To solve it, all you're going to do is say, no, I'm serious. If you haven't got a problem, please do this. Repeat after me. I have a problem. And you've just solved your first problem because you know you've got one. High five. Awesome. You've got a big high five coming straight to the camera, giving you a high five. Yes. The second thing people do is they use victim mentality. This is becoming very big lately. Everyone's a victim these days. It annoys the shit out of me.
It's very interesting, the psychology behind victim mentality, actually.
It is, and I'm going to talk about it later because in the book it talks about it. It's amazing. But some choose to believe there's nothing they can do to solve their problems, even when they in fact can. Mm-hmm. Victims seek to blame others, right, for their problems or blame outside circumstance.
Yeah.
This makes them feel better in the short term.
Because it's like a scapegoat.
Yeah, but it leads to a life of anger, helplessness, despair. You can't keep blaming everyone else.
No, because you've got to take responsibility for your life and make changes.
If you're at the effect of life, that means you've given up all your control to everything around you and you've got no control. That's what a victim does, right? It's not useful being a victim.
No.
For any of us, including yourself. So don't, please. If you're a victim, stop it. And I know that sounds a bit much, and I apologise for the sensitive victims out there.
Right now.
Right? But seriously, you need to stop it because it's the best thing you can do. And if I can help one person, I'll be wrapped because I really want to help people here. Right? People that deny and blame others for their problems for the simple reason it's easy and it feels good, while solving problems is hard and often feels bad. Right? Blame denial gives us a quick high. It's a real temporary way of escaping our problems and not having to face up to them. That's all it is. But the problem is, it's making excuses. It's long term. It doesn't work. Like eating junk food, it satisfies you, but long term is bad.
Short term.
Right? Anything good in life is hard, unfortunately, and just that's the way it is. See,
Short-term gain for long-term pain.
yep. And let's talk about emotions here. He's talking about emotions being overrated, right? It's just like when you touch a hot stove, the pain tells you to pull your hand off, right? Mm-hmm. And sadness and being alone teach you not to do things that make you go alone, right? So the biological signals of emotions nudge you in a certain direction. That's all it is.
Right, yeah.
See, an obsession and overinvestment in emotion fails us for the simple reason that emotions never last. They're temporary.
Yeah, that's
Whatever makes us happy today will no longer make us happy tomorrow. That's the sad news. Right? You know, boys, if you marry Claudia Schiffer tomorrow, then the day after, it's not going to be as happy.
I'm sure it would last longer than a day. Come on.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely. When I was younger, I thought she was pretty hot. See,
I don't even know who that is.
Claudia Schiffer was a famous model back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay? Like Elle Macpherson.
Right.
Because our biology always needs something more. A fixation on happiness amounts to a never-ending pursuit of something else. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, you're always going to want more. You're always going to want something
A
else.
new house, a new relationship, another child, another pay rise. Despite all this of our sweat and strain, we end up feeling eerily similar to how we started, inadequate. So getting another car, or getting another house, or getting another partner, it's not going to make you happy. Mm-hmm. Getting more, it's not the problem. This is the hedonic treadmill, that's what psychologists call it. So hedonism. And we're taught by that. It's unfortunate that...
Hedonic treadmill.
The hedonic treadmill.
Hedonic treadmill.
So hedonism means in pursuit of pleasure.
Yes, I know that.
Okay. So the idea that we're always working hard to change our life situation, but we actually never feel any different. This is why our problems are recursive and unavoidable. The person you marry is the person you fight with.
So how do you stop getting on that treadmill then?
Well, let me explain.
Yeah.
It's one of those. So, for example, the person you marry, right, that makes you happy, is the person you're going to fight with. So the challenge is there's no happiness without the pain. They come together. That's the fact of it. So anything good comes with something bad. They come together, and there's no separate. Right? So the person you marry is the person you fight with. The house you buy is the house you repair. The dream job you take is the dream job you stress over. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Everything comes with inherent sacrifice. Everything. It's got a sacrifice no matter what. Whatever makes us feel good also make us feel bad. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So, because there's this ideal out there that you think the perfect job or the perfect partner or the perfect house or the perfect car is going to make you happy.
Make you happy
but
forever.
unfortunately, that actual thing that you want is actually what's going to give you the satisfaction and pain.
But how's that possible?
Okay. Well, if you marry someone, right, that's the person you're going to fight with, aren't they? Just inevitable. You get your dream job, that's the job you're going to stress over. Because that's the job.
Oh, like if you get your dream car, then you're going to be worried about parking it and it
No.
getting scratched or something like that.
But that's the car you have to pay for. That's the car. It's pain. There's the pain that comes back. You got to repair it. You got to service it.
I don't see how that would be painful. I'm sorry.
Look, this is what he says in the book, and I agree with him. I agree with him. So everything has got an inherent sacrifice. So if you get a car...
I get that obviously you need like the money for the dream house and for the dream car, but I don't see how that would cause you pain once you have it.
Okay, let me explain. I really like to clearly explain this because it's important. When I first retired, I was renting on the beach, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the reason I was renting is a lot cheaper to rent than own.
Than buy,
right? Than buy.
Yeah.
But I wanted to own my own house, so I bought a house. Now, the house that I bought is sacrificing us because we can't just sit around and make money without doing anything. We have to do something to make money.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Correct? So everything's got a sacrifice, no matter what. That's the fact of it.
Okay.
Anything has. And that's the law.
Not if you buy it outright. Like if you buy a car outright, then
It's still a sacrifice. Okay, you've got to park it.
Oh, because it puts your bank account back down to zero.
It's a sacrifice. No, there's always a trade.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens is, what we gain is also what we lose. What creates our positive experiences will define our negative experiences. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the funny thing. It does. If you let it. Like the Porsche, right? It costs a lot of money to fix. Fortunately, I don't care. Right? But a lot of people get upset, especially the amount of money I spent recently. Right? This is a difficult pill to swallow. We like the idea there's some form of ultimate happiness that can be attained. That's what people want. Right?
Moral of the story, get a reliable car.
We like the idea that we can alleviate all of our suffering permanently, right? That's what people dream about, a time when that's it. They get this goal and then they're going to be happy forever. They're going to get the holiday house. They're going to get the holiday. They're going to get the dream job, right?
Yeah.
So we like the idea that we can feel fulfilled and satisfied with our lives forever. Impossible, just can't. It's not biologically, it's not psychologically possible.
Right.
So forget that idea. Gets better.
But wait, there's more.
It gets better. Happiness is a struggle, right? That's the whole
Why?
point.
I don't want it to be a struggle.
Yeah, but okay.
Oh,
You
please.
know where happiness grows from? Problems. Can you believe that? Mind blown?
Yeah, well, I know that.
Okay. A lot of people don't know that. It grows from problems. Who would have thought that problems would give you happiness?
Well, because you get satisfaction.
Joy
out of solving
doesn't
problems.
sprout out of the ground like daisies and rainbows. Real, serious, lifelong fulfillment and meaning have to be earned through choosing and managing our struggles. Right? So, whether you suffer from anxiety or loneliness or obsessive compulsive disorder or a dickhead boss who ruins half your waking hours, the solution lies in acceptance and active engagement of that negative experience, not the avoidance, not the salvation from it. Right? So, what we're saying here is the journey and the struggle is where the happiness and joy comes from. That's what creates joy and happiness. So, looking at my situation, me living on the beach, doing nothing and relaxing, there was no struggle. So, there wasn't that happiness and joy getting created.
So you weren't like satisfied?
No, I wasn't satisfied.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't know why, but I wasn't. I thought, well, this is what everyone wants, right? In my 30s, I've got a beach house, I've retired, I've got a convertible Porsche, I'm cruising, I was out there, womanizing and partying and traveling and doing all that sort of stuff, but it wasn't fulfilling.
No, it doesn't sound very fulfilling,
I
personally.
thought it would be, though, because I
Yeah.
thought that's the whole idea. The media tells you, you get a nice Porsche, you get
you
lots
get
of hot
fulfillment
girls,
in having
you get a house on the beach. And,
A relationship, like a long-term relationship,
yeah, exactly.
in my opinion, would be more fulfilling
And that's what I'm going to talk about soon.
than having like a one-night stand.
I totally agree. So, so the thing is, this is the relevant question then. Instead of thinking, what's going to make me happy? And that's good to think that. You got to think about what pain.
Think
do I
about
want?
who will make you happy, not what.
The path to happiness is a very hard road, but it's a beautiful road. If you look at it the right way, it's all about accepting it, right? See, you have to choose something. You can't have a pain-free life. It can't all be roses and unicorns all the time. Pleasure is the easy question, and pretty much all of us have a similar answer. The more interest questions the pain. What pain are you willing to sustain? You want a beach body? Guess what?
Stop eating
yes. And you're gonna.
and go to the gym.
That's right. Exactly. That's the thing, and it's painful. But see, the gym. When I first started training at the gym, right, I found it hard. But as you get used to something, you start enjoying it. And now working out is pleasure, not pain. So you create that. And what is it? It's a problem having to work out, but you can make it pleasurable. So you can make all your problems pleasurable.
Yeah. Is that just thinking positively about them?
No. It's not about thinking positively at all. It's about accepting. See, accepting is so much more important than thinking positive.
Okay.
So someone that is happy doesn't need to look in the mirror and repeat 100 times, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. They know it.
So does that mean affirmations are a load of crap?
Look, I've used affirmations a lot in the past, and for me personally, I found it was really good to target myself in a certain way.
Yeah, because I think
Right?
positive self-talk is very important.
I think I love positive self-talk. I love affirmations. Mark seems to disagree with me, but that's okay. We're all different, but I love it anyway. However, I understand what he's saying. It's not about thinking of negative experiences positive. It's about accepting it.
Okay.
The acceptance is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And being real. You don't have to pretend it's good. A lot of times we don't know. See, our problems birth our happiness along with slightly better, slightly upgraded problems. It's a never-ending upward spiral. And if you think at any point you're allowed to stop climbing, I'm afraid you're wrong. You can't stop. You've got to keep going.
It never stops.
The joy is actually the climb itself. There's no stopping. It never ends. It ends one day, and we'll talk about that later.
So the good news is you've got challenges to look forward to.
Totally. It's
and
fantastic.
It's going to make you happier, but then you're going to have another challenge to solve.
There's actually two types of entitlement that Mark talks about. It's fascinating.
Okay, interesting.
Right? One type is, I'm awesome and the rest of you all suck, so I deserve special treatment. Superiority.
Right, yeah.
The second type, which is surprising, but it's the same thing, but in a reverse. I suck and the rest of you are all awesome, so I deserve special treatment.
Victim mentality.
That's right. That's actually, being a victim is a sense of entitlement.
Of course it is, yeah.
So by constructing everything in life so as to make yourself out to be constantly victimized requires just as much selfishness as the opposite, right? It takes just as much energy and delusional self-ideas to maintain the belief that one has insurmountable problems so that no one else has problems at all.
Everyone's got problems.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? But it's interesting. So a lot of people think they're special with their problems.
Oh, right, like
Right?
they're a special case.
Yes, there's a lot of people that think my problem's special. Now, for people out there, the truth is there's no such thing as a personal or a special problem. Mm-hmm. Doesn't exist. If you've got a problem, chances are millions of other people have had it in the past, have it now, and are going to have it in the future. Sorry, but you're not special. Sorry, little snowflake.
I agree, yeah.
No, but serious. And look, I know some people have got massive problems. And I'm not trying to diminish what they are.
And some are worse than others.
But whether you've got big ones or small ones, there's other people in the world that are having it right now. They've had it in the past, they're going to have it in the future. Millions of people. Millions.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Mm-hmm. So basically, it's probably, that doesn't minimize the problem or mean that it shouldn't hurt. It doesn't mean you're legitimately a victim. You aren't legitimately a victim in certain circumstances. But it means that other people have had that problem.
Yeah.
Right? And it means you're not special. And it's, look, the realization that you and your problems are not privileged in their severity or pain is the first and most important step to solving them. Interesting.
It's kind of really good to hear that. Like, I've always known that, but to actually hear it, it just sort of, puts things in perspective, I guess.
Totally. So the thing is, you're not special. Your problems aren't special. Everyone's got them, right? It's
True.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
And the most important step is realizing you're not special, because that way, suddenly, you're not giving the problems that much power anymore. By holding them special and you being special with these special problems, sort of like, oh, I'm special, I've got this really shit problem, I've got inflammation in my belly and it's not fair and I'm tired in the morning and, such and such in my life has not been nice,
Yeah, true.
So you're not special.
Okay.
So the problem is there's a constant stream of media going through, right?
Media saying what?
Giving us unrealistic standards. So
Oh,
everyone needs
right.
to be awesome and, oh my God, if you haven't got 42 jet skis and a Porsche and a
If
big...
you're not an Instagram model, you're nothing.
Right? And the problem is, there's all these people that look like they haven't got any problems. And then we look at ourselves and go, oh shit, we've got problems, but the whole world hasn't got problems.
Uh-huh.
We don't realise that everyone's got them.
Everyone's fake.
I know, but see, because then what happens is there's these unrealistic standards we need to live up to. Everyone's got a six-pack and everyone's a millionaire, and everyone's got an entrepreneur and everyone's got a sports car.
Uh-huh.
And it's very difficult for people, right? And it's not fair because it makes people feel like losers.
But it also makes people consume, which is good for
Yeah. But it makes people feel like losers.
good for business. Good for capitalism. So I think goes back to marketing and conditioning society and living in a capitalist society, and people are being conditioned
Yep.
to want more, to spend more.
Yes, the thing is though, because a lot of people say, the big corporates are forcing it to be that way, and that is part of the problem. There's a lot of advertising spent.
But it's also human nature.
It's human nature. You look at Facebook. No one's paying people to show their awesome watches and cars and six-packs. It's a natural thing for people to do that.
Because we're peacocks.
That's
We like
right.
to show off.
That's right. And look, That's not, that's just the way it is. I'm not going to judge anyone. Some people, and then some people write how awful their life is. Have you noticed on Facebook? There's certain people that say their life is always awesome. Some people, their life is always terrible and awful.
And then you got to mix of both.
Yeah. So then we're going to talk about values.
Okay.
And defining values and how that helps in this whole situation, right? So a good value is reality-based, socially constructed, immediate controllable, and bad values are superstitious, socially destructive, and not immediate controllable. Like, for example, let's say your value was to be honest, right? Honesty. Honesty is a good value because it's sometimes something you have complete control over, and it reflects reality, right? Popularity is not a good value because you've got no control over it, right? Whether you're popular or not, right? So if your metric is to be the most popular girl or guy at a dance party, much of what happens will be out of your control. So having your values within your control is very important. So examples of good healthy values: honesty, innovation, vulnerability, standing up for oneself, standing up for others. Examples are bad: dominance through manipulation, indiscriminate fucking, feeling good all the time, always being the center of attention, not being alone, being liked by everyone. Right? So most good healthy values are achieved internally and bad values are achieved externally.
Right.
Right? So, for example, external events like flying a private jet, being told you're right all the time, owning a house in the Bahamas. Right? So there's nothing inherently bad about that. Right? Right? Because they can be fun or pleasurable, but they lie outside of our control. Right? So, let's talk about the choice.
The choice of which values you want to have, or?
There is a simple realization from which all personal improvement and growth emerges. This is the realization that we individually are responsible for everything in our lives, no matter the external circumstances.
So that goes back to taking responsibility.
That goes back to cause and effect.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in other podcasts, cause and effect. Where a very useful belief, maybe if not real, is that everything that happens in your life is new cause. Because there's only one thing that's constant in your whole life when you're born till you die, and that's you. Right?
Yeah.
So therefore, blaming anything else about your life, anyone else, is just ridiculous.
Counterproductive.
Well, counterproductive, but really stupid, because you're the only person. Like the Stoics say, what's the one thing you can control? Your mind. So therefore, that's the only thing you can control. That's the only cause of anything in your life.
Yeah.
Everything else is out of your control. So you can't control it.
True.
Right? So we don't always control what happens to us. But we can always interpret what happens to us. And as well as how we respond. Right? So whether we consciously recognize it or not, we're always responsible for our experience. So if someone smiles at you and you think, wow, that's friendly, or someone might think, oh, what a bitch, why is she smiling? Right? I know people like that, okay?
Yeah.
Right? They're controlling the thought. It's interesting. So you're choosing how you interpret it. So it's impossible not to. Choosing is not consciously interpret events in our lives. It's still an interpretation of events in our lives. So even if you consciously try not to interpret it, you're still interpreting it because not doing something's doing it.
Well, that's just being human as well.
Yeah. So it's your responsibility to interpret the meaning of the event and choose a response. That's the fact of it. Whether we like it or not, we're always taking an active role in what's occurring to and within us. So we're responsible. And that's hard for a lot of people to do. See, a lot of people hesitate to take responsibility for their problems because they believe that to be responsible for your problems is also be at fault for your problems. Right?
Oh, wow.
So that's not the same thing.
Okay.
So, for example, if I accidentally hit someone with a car,
Yeah.
right? I, by law, am responsible for that. And I should be, right? Because that's what I did,
Yeah.
right? But there are also problems that we aren't at fault for, yet we're still responsible for them, right? So, for example, if someone drops a baby on your front doorstep, right? And you open the door, you didn't cause that, right? You're not at fault.
No.
But who's responsible for that baby?
You are now.
You are
because
now.
you found them.
Yeah. So you're going to have to take it inside and make sure it doesn't freeze, and maybe find it at a family or ring someone to do something. You're responsible. So so the thing is, a lot of people think taking responsibility is making it your fault. It's not your fault.
No.
But it doesn't matter. You still need to take responsibility for everything that happens.
Absolutely.
So we're responsible for experiences that aren't our fault all the time. That's part of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, fault is past tense, responsibility is present tense. So present tense, everything you're responsible for.
And no matter what situation you find yourself in, you're always responsible.
You are. Not at fault, or responsible. It doesn't matter.
You
Same
can
thing.
choose to be born in whatever country you're born in, or choose to be born the way you look, but you're still responsible for it.
That's right. You're responsible for it. You didn't choose it, but you are responsible. So I like that. That's very powerful. So responsibility results from the choice you're currently making every second of the day. You're choosing to read this. You're choosing to think about the concept. You're choosing to listen to us right now. And you're responsible for coming to your own
You are
conclusion.
choosing to subscribe.
Right? And it's not your fault that you're listening to me right now. But you're responsible because you're listening. You're responsible for choosing to listen to it. So what I'm going to do now is I want to talk about shitty values.
Okay.
So I'm going through the book and it starts off really amazing and it just changes as it goes along. But it's amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, for example...
Is this why people have bad values?
No, it's talking about actual shitty values you can choose.
Okay,
like, for example,
yeah.
pleasure, okay? Pleasure's a shitty value.
Right. Interesting.
Right? That's hedonism, right? Pleasure's great, but it's a horrible value to
It's of the
prioritize.
devil.
No, it's great, but it's a horrible value to prioritize real life around. Ask any drug addict,
Yeah.
or ask any adulterer or a gambler, right?
Yeah.
Pleasure is a false god. Research shows that people who focus their energy on superficial pleasures end up more anxious, more emotionally unstable, more depressed. Right?
Interesting.
It's actually bad chasing pleasure.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with experiencing it when it's appropriate, but chasing it's not what we want. Pleasure is the most superficial form of life satisfaction, and therefore the easiest to obtain and easiest to lose. See, things that are superficial are just not good. So it's a bit like this. Fairy floss compared to a home-cooked meal. Fairy floss gives you that quick high and it's
Sugar
nice,
hit,
but it's
yeah,
not good for you.
but then you come crashing
and
down.
Pleasure's the same thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep, so you go on a sugar high, but then you crash when you don't have it, you've got withdrawals.
But pleasure's marketed to us 24/7. You know what I mean? It's used to numb and distract ourselves. But pleasure, while necessary in life, in certain doses, isn't by itself sufficient. Right? It's a shitty value. Next shitty value. And this one a lot of people have. And pleasure is one of them. It's big. A lot of people, that's what they chase. Material success. People chase that. Right? And
No way.
they do. And look, it's a shitty value. It is. Like, research shows that once one is able to provide for physical basic needs, the correlation between happiness and worldly success quickly approaches zero. So if you're starving, living on the street in the middle of India, an extra $10,000 a year would probably make you very happy, right?
Make you more comfortable.
Yes. No, it would. But if you're sitting pretty in a middle class area in Australia, 10,000 is not going to make you happy at all.
No, it's not going to change your life.
It won't affect anything. The other issues overvaluing material success is the danger of prioritising over other values such as honesty, non-violence and compassion.
Or even having like relationships with people.
Yeah. See, the problem is when people measure themselves by their toys and not by their actions.
They're putting all their self-worth into that object.
That's right.
Which is just stupid.
So you can't... Okay, you got a Porsche. That should not be your identity. Or a Ferrari. I know people...
And you shouldn't go into like extreme depression because somebody scratched it. Like, get over it.
Yeah, see, when people measure themselves not by their behaviour but by the status symbols they're able to collect, then not only are they shallow, right, they're also probably arseholes as well.
Oh, wow.
And it's true. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you can tell by the conversation. I know a few people, right? I know one guy talks about his Ferrari non-stop, right? And he defines himself by having
That's
that
probably
Ferrari.
because he spent all of his money on that one car.
But I
though.
mean, that's a shitty value. And it's very shallow and it's very empty. It doesn't matter. Who gives a shit what car you got? It doesn't matter. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a nice car if that's what you want. But if that defines you as a person, you're a shallow shit person. Right?
Yeah.
And having a Gucci watch, that should not define you. Anything
Is that
material.
even a real thing, a Gucci watch?
I don't know.
Probably.
See, and then there's another shitty value, always being right.
Oh, yes, I know some people that have this complex.
The fact is, people base their self-worth on being
You're never
right
always going to be right.
about everything, prevent themselves from learning.
It's impossible.
Right? So look, the thing is, the only way to improve is through mistakes, right? So basically, the biggest gift we can have is making a mistake and learning from it.
Yeah, because otherwise, how do you learn?
That's how you learn. So, for example, if you want to become a really good tennis player, you can't become a good tennis player by not making any mistakes. You've got to make mistakes. And
You're not going to wake up and be like a gold medal friggin' tennis player.
No. Actually, if you want to be good at anything, right, anything in life, there's one key ingredient: making shitload of mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, the better.
But what's even better is learning from someone else's mistakes.
That's exactly.
Because that's like a shortcut to success.
Christina, I love it. And that's part of the reason I always like to get the right mentors in certain areas so I can shortcut my mistakes and make it quicker. You still have to put the hard yards in, but a lot easier. So when I was learning how to work out at the gym, I actually hired a guy that used to be Mr. Australia to come down and just teach me, because he had 20 years experience.
Yeah,
right?
so he knew what he was doing by then.
Well, I could condense my learning instead of spending 10 years
trying to figure out what works. Yeah.
He taught me in a short period, which was awesome. It was worth the money, because time is more important than money.
Definitely.
Right? So that's the thing about mistakes. So for example, I want to give this beautiful example.
Can I just say something quickly?
Go.
So it's like one of my friends lost their license from doing something stupid in their car, and I said to them, see, that's why I would never do that. And she said to me, look, it's like that saying, a wise man learns from his mistakes, but an even wiser man learns from another man's mistakes.
Exactly, that's right.
And a wise woman learns from a woman's mistakes.
That's right. So I'll give you a really good example. Let's say there's two people and they both want to be songwriters and singers, right?
Yeah.
Right, you've got A and B. Okay. And number A, right, doesn't ever want to be wrong, doesn't want to make any mistakes, and wants to get it perfect. So what they do for 10 years straight is keep rewriting this song and rewriting it till it's perfect, right? And they're going to play it at the end of 10 years. Number B, he writes his first song, plays it in front of an audience, writes his next song, plays it, and continually plays it in front of audiences, keeps writing different songs. At the end of 10 years, who's going to be a better musician?
The person who gets the feedback from the audience.
The person who made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
And the person who made no mistakes, what is his song going to be like?
Well,
I think it's going to be pretty crap.
Only he's going to like it because he hasn't got the feedback to know.
Yeah. So it's much more helpful to assume that you're ignorant, don't know a whole lot, and learn than pretend that you know everything.
Yeah, like I love learning, and I'm never going to stop learning because there's always going to be something that I don't know. So that's the beautiful part about it.
Yeah, so staying positive, he reckons, is a shitty value.
Wow. I
know, this is a big one, because I've always been into staying positive, but I think there needs to be a reality. So this is what he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then there's those who measure their lives by the ability to be positive about, well, pretty much everything. Lost your job? Great. It's an opportunity to explore your passions. Husband cheated on you with your sister? Well, at least you're learning what you really mean to people around you. Child dying of throat cancer? At least you don't have to pay for college anymore.
Wow.
Well, something to be said for saying on the staying side of life, the truth is sometimes life sucks. And sometimes you've got to admit it. Denying negative emotions leads to experiencing deeper and more prolonged negative emotion and to emotional dysfunction. So I like being positive, but you still have to accept the negative. You have to. You can't.
I'm very much into being a realist.
Yep. So the trick to negative emotion is, one, express them in a socially acceptable and healthy manner, and then express them in a way that aligns with your values. Right? So, for example, if I get angry, right, I can express it to someone, but I'm not going to punch them in the face because that doesn't fit my values. Because it's not the emotion that's the problem, it's the action of punching someone in the face. Not good. Yeah. Bad. Mm-hmm. Don't punch people in the face.
Because you might mess up their face too, so...
Yeah, and that's why it depends on how you react. But that's all depends on your interpretation. Mm-hmm. So when we force ourselves to stay positive at all times, we deny the existence of our life's problems. And when we deny our problems, we rob ourselves of the chance to solve them and generate happiness. Really? Wow. Problems add a sense of meaning and importance to our life. Thus, to duck our problems is to lead to meaninglessness, even if it's pleasant. So the problem is, you can't stay positive about a problem. You need to admit it, because the problem's the key to life and happiness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the big thing I'm taking out of here is how awesome problems are. They're cool. I really want to start a fan club for problems, you know what I mean? And get everyone to join it and go, yes, here's the problems. The best thing ever happened to us.
Well, what about solving them? Wouldn't that be even better?
Well, no, but we need more problems if we solve them. Because imagine we ran out of problems one day. We'd be stuffed.
Impossible.
Who knows? Once AI comes
Because then
along,
you'll have the problem of not having a problem.
well, yes.
Is that a paradox or what?
See, in the long run, completing a marathon makes us happier than eating a chocolate cake. Raising a child makes us happier than beating a video.
I don't know. For me personally, I'd take the chocolate cake.
Okay, working out and doing something productive. Raising a child makes us happier than being a video game. Starting a small business with friends while struggling to make ends meet makes us happier than buying a new computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These
I get
activities
what
are
you're saying.
stressful, arduous, and often unpleasant. Right? They also require withstanding problem after problem. Yet they are some of the most meaningful moments and joyous things we'll ever do. You know, it's funny because you talk to people and they go, "Oh, they always complain about kids," but they always say it's the best thing they ever did. So obviously, it's interesting, and starting a business, small business, is the hardest thing you can do, but it's the best thing you can do. It's fascinating.
Everyone's got a different experience.
They all involve pain and struggle, even anger and despair. Yet once they're accomplished, we look back and get all misty-eyed telling our grandkids about them. As Freud once said, one day in retrospect, the year of the struggle will strike us as the most beautiful. And it's true. And I've told you that when I started my first business. What was my favourite part? The
Building
struggle.
a business.
The struggle.
Yeah.
And I look back with fondness. It's crazy. And I never knew why, and now I get it. So when I look at most of the things that I've accomplished in my life, and I look at the struggles are the things that I cherish the most. I really do. That was the fun part. That was the best part.
But when you were struggling, were you still thinking, this is awesome?
I was so focused on the struggle that I didn't realise as much, if you know what I mean.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
really...
Yeah.
Because I was super positive. I started my marketing business. I was like 19 years old, and I thought, that's it. And then I started my first business when I was 19. Then my marketing business started when I was 26. And I jumped in and I said, I'm going to do this, and I don't care. And I just pushed really hard. I was up early, late at night. I loved it. It was fantastic. The struggle was awesome. I didn't notice the struggle because I was so focused.
Yeah, in moving forward.
Yeah, I was so focused that I just thought, I want to do this, and I just kept going. So it's funny, you know what I mean? So some of the greatest moments of one's life are not pleasant, not successful, not known, and not positive.
Until you look back and reflect, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So is it about reflection then?
No, the point is to nail down some good values and metrics, and pleasure and success will naturally emerge as a result. See, chasing the pleasure and the success, that's a natural part that happens normally. There's side effects of good values. So if you have good values and you work hard, the side effect is pleasure and happiness.
Right.
Pretty awesome. Okay, let's go to be careful what you believe.
Oh, okay. Sounds very scary and interesting.
Well, our thoughts are not real.
What
Right.
do you mean?
Well,
Do you mean we are living in a hologram? Is that what you mean?
Okay, so this is an interesting case, right? Be careful what you believe. Back in 1988, there was a lady called Meredith Moran, and she came to the realisation that her father had sexually abused her as a child. It was a shock to her, and a repressed memory she had spent her adult life oblivious to. Right? Then, in 1996, she came to another startling realisation. Her father actually hadn't sexually abused her. Like, oops.
What? How could you think that you were sexually abused as a kid
Because
if you weren't?
she, with the help of a well-intentioned therapist, had actually invented the memory.
That's crazy.
No, actually, what happened was this happened in the 90s. It happened all over America, over and over. People thought they were getting a satanic cult and getting sacrificed and this and that, and all these repressed memories came out, and they found that there's a very, very, very subtle difference between installing a memory and seeing a memory.
Right.
So,
But doesn't that mean that you could erase your bad traumatic memories and replace them with
You could if you wanted to.
Other things?
Yeah, you could.
Awesome. Sign me up for that one, please.
Well, no, you don't want to do that.
Why? Oh, because then I won't have the learning.
Exactly.
Oh, annoying.
So, well, no. In NLP, they've got a timeline therapy where you get rid of the emotion and keep the learning. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've done that,
And it's pretty awesome. And I love that because that allows your brain to go, okay, cool. I'll keep the learning, get rid of the emotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so when people are in hypnosis, you've got to be very careful what you say to them. That's all.
Right.
And obviously, this therapist said the wrong thing. Luckily, she found out. Would have been horrible.
To just create that alternate reality.
Well, she was racked with guilt for the rest of her life. So, the Buddha argues that your idea of who you are is an arbitrary mental construction, that you should let go of the idea that you exist at all.
Now you're sounding a bit like Jim Carrey, the new age Jim Carrey. So, this is getting a little bit kooky now.
So look, he's saying you're better off letting go of everything. That's what the Buddha says. I know it sounds like Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey, he's just become very spiritual, that's all, and he's trying to explain, I get it. And it's hard because people don't get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember after I read this book, I've been ringing people, telling them, you know, wanting a more positive experience is actually negative. And
we will just call you Jim from now on.
See, the thing is, this is what he's talking about here. So when someone admits to, let's say, for example, someone admits maybe I'm not good at relationships, right? This lady. Then she's suddenly free to act and end her bad marriage. She has no identity to protect by staying in a miserable, crappy marriage.
Okay.
When a student admits to himself, maybe I'm not a rebel, maybe I'm just scared, then he's free to be ambitious again, right? Because, in high school, no one tries because they're scared they'll fail. That's the whole point. See, everyone's like, I'm not going to try that test. And everyone's trying to show how much they're not going to try because they're scared they're going to fail.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yes, that's all it is. So everyone secretly wants to pass, but they pretend they don't want to pass.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't care, I'll get a D. Teach these teachers a lesson.
It's like they're playing it cool.
They're playing it cool, but
yeah.
It's not cool.
Deep down, they really want it badly.
Well, like being cool, by trying to be cool, you're not cool.
You're not being cool because you're trying too hard.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can't try.
Yeah.
You can't try to be cool.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what he's saying here. So I have both some good news, some bad news for you.
Okay.
There's
Give it to
a
me.
little that is unique or special about your problems. That's why letting go is so liberating. Nothing special about your problems.
Very true.
So this is because thinking that your problems are special and not letting go.
But you said this at the beginning of the
I know,
podcast.
but I'm saying it again. What's happening is that's just a kind of self-absorption. That's all it is. And I know I'm repeating myself because it's very important. Now, how to be a little bit less certain of yourself.
Okay. Why would you want to be less certain of yourself?
Because certainty is not good. Right? So I'll give you a story, right? Which story should I tell you? The one about the friend or the other one about our engagement?
Whatever makes you happy, tell that one.
Okay, I'll tell this story, and I've had a similar story myself, so it's interesting. Right?
Okay.
So this guy talks about a friend of his, right? And she got engaged to be married, and the guy proposed to her was a pretty cool guy, but the brother has been just really hammering her, saying he's not good for you, you shouldn't marry him, and he's been totally against it, right? And he's been certain about it, right? Because of his own, there's nothing about the engagement that bothers him, it's just trying to be helpful, he reckons. But it's clear that something does bother him. Right? So, could be a sibling rivalry thing, perhaps it's jealousy, perhaps it's just so caught up in his own victimhood that he doesn't know how to show happiness for others without trying to make them feel miserable first himself. That's what a lot of time when someone's not happy for you doing something like that, they're just being a victim and they want to make you feel miserable because they feel miserable. You know what I mean? And I guess it happens a lot if they're not married and then you're getting married. There's the extra jealousy part. But the problem is they're certain that you're not, that person's not right for the other person because they've got that certainty. They're not questioning themselves. That's the challenge, right? So for any change to happen in your life, you need to be wrong about something. So if you're never going to entertain it being wrong, you can't learn, you can't change, right? So then the other question you've got to ask is, what would it mean if I was wrong? So the guy that was saying to his sister, don't marry this guy, he's going to treat you bad. What would it mean if I were wrong? Well, if I was wrong, then that means he's not that bad, and it's okay for them to engage, and maybe I've got my own issues, right? So if he's wrong, his sister's engagement is fine and healthy and happy. There's really no way to explain his behaviour other than through his own insecurities and fucked up values. He assumes that he knows what's best for his sister, that she can't make major life decisions for herself, right? He assumes that he has the right responsibility to make decisions for her. He's certain that he's right and everyone else must be wrong. How crazy is that?
Cuckoo.
See, even once uncovered, whether in my friend's brother or in ourselves, what sort of entitlement is hard to admit, it hurts. That's a victimhood entitlement. That's why few people ask difficult questions, but probing questions are necessary in order to get to the core of the problem that's motivating his dickish behaviour.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would being wrong create a better or worse problem than my current problem? That's interesting for myself and others. So if you've got a situation, right, and you've got a problem, a good question, so you don't be a dick like this person and someone else that I know, is ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? And if I was wrong, would the situation be better, or would the problem be better or worse? Because if you're improving the problem by being wrong, then you're probably wrong. Because, look, I've thought I was certain many times in my life, and I was totally wrong. Right?
Like the other day, you thought this guy stole your suitcase.
Yes.
Because it was the same colour.
So what happened was, we get off the airport. We're at the wrong airport for one. Like, I don't know what I did. But we flew into Melbourne, we ended up in Avalon, and I've got this very unique suitcase.
Yeah.
And this same colour suitcase comes off, this guy grabs it and walks off. Anyway, and I'm like, wow, that's unusual. Same suitcase as mine. Then Christina's suitcase comes off and mine's not there. So I'm thinking, hold on a second. The guy grabs a suitcase that looks like mine, and I haven't got my suitcase, and he casually did it. He must be a pro. Right?
Anyway, stealing your suitcase.
So I run to the car park. I see him get in his car, so I run to the entrance, and I'm about to stop his car and drag him out of his car and say, I want my suitcase back. And then suddenly Christina rings me and goes, oh, I found your suitcase. I'm like, phew, lucky. So I was certainly wrong.
But you were certain that was your suitcase.
I was certain. And the thing is...
But it wasn't.
Exactly. And that's why it's easy to be a dick. And I've been a dick many times, and we've got to stop that from happening by asking ourselves that question. Right? So...
But also not jumping to conclusions as well.
That's right. And not jumping to conclusions or think you know best
like
than someone
all
else.
you had to do was wait an extra 5 minutes for the conveyor belt to come round with
but
your
I thought by
suitcase.
then he'll be gone and I need my stuff, right?
Yeah.
See, the friend's brother, what are his options? 1, continue causing drama and friction within the family, complicating what should otherwise be a happy moment, and damage the trust and respect he has for his sister, all because he has a hunch, some might call intuition, that this guy's bad for her. Or B, mistrust his own ability to determine what's right or wrong for his sister's life and remain humble. Trust her ability to make her own decisions. And even if he doesn't live with the results, out of his love and respect for her. What would be better, A or B?
B,
B,
obviously.
exactly.
Hello, it's a no-brainer to me.
You can't make a decision for someone else. Only they know who's good for them. See, most people choose A and be a dick and go against it,
I think
right?
it's a cultural thing as well when people do that.
Well, people that feel they've got ownership and stuff like that, right? I think it's a victimhood and insecurities, right? Because most people choose A, right? Because it requires little thought, no second guessing, and zero tolerance for decisions other people make that you don't like. So it's easy to choose A. It's the easy way out.
Because it's what you want to do, so...
It also creates the most misery for everyone involved, though. It's option B that sustains healthy and happy relationships built on trust and respect. It's option B that forces people to remain humble and admit ignorance.
Well, it's their life.
It's option B that allows people to grow beyond the insecurities and recognise situations where they're being impulsive, unfair or unselfish. But option B is hard and painful, so most people don't choose it. That's right. And see, it's
that's
people...
crazy.
Okay, but the people that choose option A are more likely people that avoid problems in the first place. That's why they're dicks. So people that avoid problems are usually shit people, right?
Okay.
And I'm not having a go at these people, but I'm saying they're shit because they're avoiding their problems. Because if they started working on their problems and accepting them, they'd become good people. Because as you solve your problems, you become a better person. How awesome is that?
High five.
So that's the bonus of doing all this hard work. You know what I mean? Failure is the way forward. That's the bonus on it. It's amazing. So, see, people avoid failure these days. Everyone's trying to avoid failure. This is a bit like being right as well. You know what I mean? Admitting you're wrong is failure, but it's not, right? See, think about a young child learning how to walk, right? When they fall down, they keep going. You don't stop. You don't stop. You don't say, oh, they fall down 4 times now, they're going to stop walking, do you?
No.
It's a bit like when I first started investing in property, right? I bought a property. It didn't quite work. Then I bought another one. I kept going, right? You can't just quit. You got to work at it. You got to do the work, right? It's not easy.
Absolutely.
And happens with a lot of clients that we got on board with our property business. You know what I mean? You know, they failed once or twice and they're like, oh, I don't know. And we can clearly see that it's just a mental block. See, the funny thing is, most people that come to us have got all the money, the resource, they've got everything they need to invest. They don't have the
capacity.
They've got capacity.
Just not the mindset ability.
Or the knowledge. Yeah. But mainly it's the mindset.
That holds them back.
Yeah, it's amazing.
The fear.
Right?
False expectations playing a role.
Well, the problem is people are avoiding failure, right? And people are doing it more and more. This whole safe space and triggering, it's all about failure. And I don't know, I've heard now at schools that everyone gets a participation award, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, when they run a race, everyone gets an award. And,
oh, okay,
you know what I mean?
So no one misses out.
That's what I mean, you know what I mean? The thing is though...
So they're not giving you rewards based on results anymore.
That's right, and the problem is that's not good because you're not getting real feedback. Because if someone's really shit at something, there's no point saying they're good at something. You need to be honest. See, the funny thing is, we recently went to Macedonia on our honeymoon, right? That's where my parents come from. And Macedonia used to be part of Yugoslavia, which was a communist country, right? Now, in communism, there wasn't a lot of resources, right? And because of that, they needed another currency, and their currency was trust.
Oh.
So they don't use a lot of pleasantries like we do here.
Right.
And they're a lot more upfront with you because that signals trust, if you're honest with people. Like when I go to a restaurant with my father, and I say, "Way, you know, can I please have this and thank you?" My father goes, "Why are you saying please and thank you?" That's his job.
We're in Australia.
That's his
Hello.
job. That's his job, right? And you know, if you're fat in Macedonia, they'll just look at you and go, "Fat," right? Ha ha. Like it's just they'll point out the obvious, but it's abrupt at first, but after a while, it's actually
refreshing.
It's
because
refreshing
it's honesty
because everyone's
and it's
honest.
beautiful. Yeah.
And how happy are the people? They haven't got a lot of money.
They're very happy though.
So they've got their own problems, right? They really do. But they're just solving their problems, going along, having a good time. And
but is that because they've got more honesty that they're happier?
I think they're happier because they accept their problems and they just
Right.
continue.
Okay.
It's about accepting your problems, right?
Yeah.
Wishing you don't have them is the problem, not the problem.
Yeah.
See, people think the problem's the problem. The problem's actually wishing you didn't have it. The problem's the answer. I know.
What?
Right? So, a lot of fear of failure is choosing shitty values. Right? So that's the problem. If like it says here, if I want to measure my standards by make everyone love me, everyone that I meet, it's going to fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because not everyone's going to love you.
But if I have a value improve my social life, then I can live up to it. You know what I mean? So your self-worth is based on your own behaviours and happiness. You can't have it on your self-worth can't be based on external events. See, if your metric for the value success by worldly standards is buy a house and a nice car and you spend 20 years working for your arse off to achieve it, once it's achieved, the metric has nothing left to give you. Then say hello to your midlife crisis, because the problem that drove you your entire adult life has just been taken away from you. Right? That's why a lot of people...
That's why people get a midlife crisis.
Yes, and what about people when they retire? They die because they've missed... That's it. They've got no problems anymore. There are no other opportunities to keep growing and improving, and yet it's growth that generates happiness, not a long list of arbitrary achievements. That's the problem. See, if you've got this goal and then you want to work hard and retire at a certain age, sorry, not the answer. Because pain is part of the process. See, for many of us, our proudest achievements come in the face of the greatest adversary. Our pain often makes us stronger, more resilient, more grounded. Many cancer survivors, for example, report feeling stronger, more grateful after winning the battle to survive. Many military personnel report a mental resilience gained from standing in dangerous environments of being in a war zone. And look at Viktor Frankl, you know, that book that he wrote. Like, he was in a concentration camp. Right? So he talks about the VCR, and I was like this at home too. So my parents didn't know how to use the VCR, but I could do it. And Mark, the way he mentions this and encapsulates it, I love the way Mark writes. It's fantastic. Good job. Big shout out to Mark. You need to buy this book. So he talks about the VCR question.
This is not sponsored.
No, it's not. No. So what he's saying is the VCR is very simple on the outside. You just go bang, bang, bang.
So that's like what you put a video in, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot. A VCR is a video cassette recorder. So you put video in, yes. A video, VHS, right?
So it's like an old-fashioned DVD player.
Sorry, guys, I forgot. I must be showing my age. So from the outside, the answer is simple. Just shut up and do it, right? Or VCR, just program it. But it's more complicated, right? Mm-hmm. So for people... So a VCR question is easy from the outside, but from the perspective of each of these people, these questions feel impossibly complex and opaque. Wrapped enigmas in a KFC bucket full of Rubik's Cubes. So the VCR questions are funny because the answer appears difficult to anyone who has them, and it appears easy to anyone who doesn't. The problem here is pain.
I don't understand what the challenge is.
Let me tell you about the story. Let me tell you. Okay.
The challenge is that they can't put a video in the video player. Is that what you're saying?
No. They're called VCR problems. Okay. So let's say there's immigrants, right? They've got a daughter and they've paid money for her to go to school, right?
Yeah.
And she's doing a med class. Mm-hmm. But she wants to quit.
Yeah.
Now, quitting is easy. All we've got to do is go and quit, right?
Yep.
So it's like the VCR problem. It's easy on the outside, but on the inside it's hard because there's a lot of pain to go through.
I don't get that analogy, though, that you're saying it's a VCR.
Okay. He talks about VCR. So what he's saying is that for him to program the VCR was very easy. He just clicked a few buttons, right?
Oh, right.
But on the inside it's very complicated. Right?
So it wasn't complicated, but some people thought it was complicated.
Yes.
Okay.
For him it was simple. For them it was complicated, right?
Right.
So a VCR question is like...
Would that be like a technology age gap sort of thing, though?
No. Nothing to do with that. The analogy is really lost on you. I'm going to start again. So...
Please.
Let's have a question, okay? For example, let's get this. There's a college guy who's got a crush on his tutor, right?
Yeah.
Now, he wants to ask her out. Mm-hmm. Now, how easy is that? How simple is that?
But it's not because she's his teacher.
It's not because of one thing why it's hard, the pain.
But what about...
I'll tell you, to explain why.
Okay, yeah.
So for example, let's say I'm looking at that situation, mm-hmm. I'd say easy. All you do is ask her, right? Mm-hmm. Ask her out, right? However, asking her out involves being vulnerable. It involves facing a problem. It involves the pain.
But if she rejects him, then he's still got to see her every day.
Exactly.
He should wait until the last day of his class and then do it.
Well,
because then...
Well, look, no, it's a matter of solving your problem. So if you really want to do something, don't avoid the problem. You need to accept the problem and accept the pain because it's worth it. If that's what he wants to do, he needs to ask her out. But
I'd do it on the last day of the course,
okay,
because then if she says no and rejects him, he doesn't have to see her again. And he can leave. But if she says yes, then awesome.
Yeah, but if he flirts with her and says yes, he inserts the idea he's got more time with her, he could probably got more chance of getting her if he does it earlier. Because she knows his intention. Because once you insert the idea in someone's head...
I don't know.
Think about... I inserted the idea in your head pretty soon when I met you.
Let's not talk about how you're in friend zone for over a year.
Well, I wasn't scared of asking out though, was I?
No.
Not at all, right? Because I was happy to get my problem, you know? I was, because the point is, if I didn't ask you out, would you be married to me now? No. So I had a problem, and there could have been pain from getting rejected, and yes, there was a lot of rejection. Did that stop me though?
No, obviously not. Hello.
It didn't stop me because pain is part of the process of solving problems. So there's another story here about a girl. Her parents are immigrants, saved their whole lives to put her through med school. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to be a doctor. She wants to drop out. Right?
Okay, yeah, but that's going to cause her parents pain.
That's right, but it causes her pain by telling him. So
Yep.
what do you do? Well, it's a VCR question because it's easy to say just drop out, right? Mm-hmm. But dropping out includes a lot of pain.
But she needs to reevaluate what she wants to do with her own life and figure it out.
She has to drop out if that's what she really wants to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to... but most people, what they do is they avoid that pain. Mm-hmm. But the problem is when you avoid a little pain, what are you gaining?
Nothing.
A big pain.
Yeah.
Much bigger
It's
pain.
creating more pain in the long run.
Like, well, you know, if you thought that you really liked the opposite sex, or even the same sex, I suppose, someone that you were attracted to, and you didn't ask them out, well, that little pain now is finished, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you didn't go for the job promotion or go for a job, if you miss out, that's it. You've missed out for a long time, you know what I mean? So missing out on things is easy to do, right? But it's a matter of being able to handle the pain, which is solving a problem.
Right.
And the key is accepting the pain. Then it's not painful.
Okay.
So many people, when they feel some form of pain or anger or sadness, drop everything and attend to numbing out whatever they're feeling. Mm-hmm. Their goal is to get back to feeling good again as quickly as possible, even if that means substance or deluding themselves, returning to their shitty values. It's not the answer, though.
I've been there.
You have to learn to sustain the pain you've chosen, right?
Yeah.
When you choose a new value, you're choosing to reduce a new form of pain in your life. Relish it, savour it, welcome it with open arms, then act despite it.
The opposite of being human, in other words.
Yes, seriously. There's going to be feeling possibly hard at first, but you can start simple. You're going to feel as though you don't know what to do. But we've just discussed this. You don't know anything anyway. Even when you think you do, you really don't know what the fuck's going on. So really, what is there to lose? Life is about not knowing and then doing something anyway. All of life is like this. It never changes. Even when you're happy. Even when you're farting fairy dust. Even when you win the lottery and buy a small fleet of jet skis. You still won't know what the hell you're doing. Don't ever forget that and don't ever be afraid of it. Right?
Okay. So what are the first steps to accepting whatever pain you're going through?
Okay. The first step is actually doing something, because happiness and solving problems involves action. With no action, you're not doing anything.
Okay.
Right? So
if you're depressed, don't just go to bed and do nothing. Do something.
You have to do something. You have to do something.
Yeah.
The action is the important part.
Yes.
Right? Without the action, you're fucked. So what happens is, it's interesting. When I was younger, I worked at this company, and we had an old army colonel that owned this insurance company, life insurance, and he was like really strict, right? And we had to do cold calling, ring people out of the blue and sell them life insurance. I was shit scared, right? But I was more scared of him. That's what motivated me. But what happened is he got up and he used to say, look, you know, he goes, what most people do, they think about making a call, then they feel bad about it, and then they don't call. He goes, fuck that, right? And he used to smoke
just
inside.
Do it.
And he's even though smoking was disallowed, he just smoked and didn't give a shit, right?
Yeah,
anyway, and he'd say, this is what we're going to do. You're going to do it. Then you're going to feel good about it. And then you're going to think about it. And you know what? It works.
Okay, so is it just like changing your mindset about it?
Action creates motion and changes the emotion, does things. It changes your state. Anthony Robbins says, okay, so your emotions, your state, and your mindset, those three things are linked. Mm-hmm. So if your emotions are stuck, you move your body, that will move your emotions.
Okay.
Because emotions are temporary. They're not permanent. So if you've got an emotion, by moving your body, you can change it. So, for example, if I was to stand up and, yes, you can't even see me on the camera, but I feel positive and pumped, right? Because I've made a movement.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel pumped already anyway.
Good on you.
So, that's how you do it. That's how you get out of that rut. So, rejection makes your life better.
Interesting.
See, honesty is a natural human craving, but part of having honesty in our lives is becoming comfortable with saying and hearing the word no. In this way, rejection actually makes our relationships better and our emotional lives healthier. Mm-hmm. So, how do you build trust in a relationship?
Through honesty?
That's right, through honesty.
I would have thought that was a no-brainer. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
No. Okay. Well, guess what? You build trust in a relationship through conflict. That's how you do it.
Through being honest?
That's right. Because without conflict, you can't have a good relationship. You need conflict. And people might be going, oh my God, what do I need to do? Fight my partner? No. But see, by being honest, you're creating conflict and it's uncomfortable. So for example, when you spend half an hour or an hour getting ready and then you come out and go, what do you think? I'm honest with you. I'll just say this, right? Whether it's good or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, might be slightly uncomfortable the first time. You know what I mean? But
it's helping me clear out my wardrobe and get rid of things that don't look good on me anymore.
But it's good. And when I ask you for an opinion, you're honest with me. You're brutally honest with me. You know what I mean?
What do you mean brutally honest?
Yep. See, you call me out of my bullshit, right?
I do not.
And look, sometimes my ego's bruised, but I come back realising you were right, which is good. So it's actually good because by being honest...
You got better fashion sense than me, so hello.
Anyway,
more like the other way around. You're telling me I look shit.
I would never do that. Now, listen, yes, I would be honest with you though, right? So the problem is when our highest priority is always to make ourselves feel good, always make our partner feel good, then nobody ends up feeling good and a relationship falls apart without even knowing it. So saying lies is not good. So for example, if I feel something, I need to tell you and be honest with you. Now that's hard because that's conflict, that's rejection, that's no.
You don't find it hard at all.
No, but a lot of people would find it hard.
Okay,
right? Yes, yep. Okay. So we were talking to a friend recently and she was... apparently her partner was having some woman massaging him, right? And she didn't say anything at the time, but she was thinking about it, right?
Right.
And she said, oh, I probably shouldn't say anything.
Thinking about confronting him and saying, you know, does she give you massages?
Yes, but she wasn't clear on it. She said, oh, I better not do it. But she said, I don't know if I should confront him.
Right.
Or say anything.
It's going to cause conflict.
And I said, look, conflict is how you build a relationship. So if you avoid the conflict, you're not going to build a relationship. So you need to be honest with him. Don't go nuts. Just be gentle about it, but communication is important because couples that avoid communicating to try to keep the peace, it's crazy. You're not building trust or anything because trust is earned through the actions. It's a ongoing process, and a relationship is a normalization. What are you doing? You're relating, and when you're relating, there's going to be conflict. That's the thing. The person that gives you the most joy is going to give you the most pain. Mm-hmm. That's the way it works.
Interesting.
So, for a relationship to be healthy, both people must be willing and able to both say no and hear no. And it's hard for people to say no and hear no, but that's important.
There's a saying, no is a full sentence. And I've started learning that because sometimes when I say no, people don't take me seriously. So I think saying it that way just reframes it and makes it really clear. Yep. No. That's a full sentence. That's all I need to tell you.
Beautiful. I like that. I'm going to learn that. I don't think
it's helped me a lot.
I don't think I need it. Oh, good on you. That's good. So freedom through commitment is going to be an interesting paradox. We're talking about all these backward laws. Now we're going to talk about commitment and how commitment gives you freedom.
Freedom through commitment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we live in a culture where we want more choices and more options.
This goes back to freedom through minimalism and having less choices.
Yes, absolutely. So we've been taught that more choices are better.
Consume.
Eat more.
Buy more. Yeah.
Anyway, so basically 100 years ago, when there was peasants around the place, they had one colour, brown. They didn't have a lot to choose, right?
Ugh.
So they're very much in the moment, and and having more choice is good to a certain degree. But our choices now.
But you don't want overwhelm.
Our choices have gone nuts, and the problem is, the more choice you have, the more dissatisfied you become. So if you had a choice between 5 cars and you pick one, you know that you've picked the best out of 5 easily. But if you've got to pick...
Even that would confuse me.
Okay, but it's easier than picking one out of 100 cars. And the problem is we're getting more choice. As we get more choice, we have more decision fatigue because all we're doing is making choices that aren't important.
You've only got a certain capacity of what you can focus your energy on.
Well, you look at people that are really on top of their game. Let's talk about Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg was the same thing every day, yes.
Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they all the same thing every day. Why? Because they didn't want...
And they can focus their energy on something more important.
You've only got a certain amount of choices in a day.
Yeah.
Right? Why the hell would you want to lose that awesome choice on something to wear? You know what I mean? It's a real I'm trying to cut down as many choices as I can to get more freedom. Now, a lot of people think that's the opposite, but that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, so the thing is, more is not always better, right? The opposite is actually true.
Less is more.
The more options,
One of
the
my
less
favourite
satisfying.
sayings.
So, for example, let's talk about travel. You know what I mean? Like when you travel, like the first country you go to is a different culture. It's like amazing. It's huge, right? Mm-hmm. Then the second country's got less of a sort of impact on you. And after you've gone to 5 or 6 countries, you sort of get used to it. You know what I mean? That whole change. And what am I trying to get to? It's a bit like while I was single, I dated a lot of different women. All right? Now, when you start one relationship and start a next one and start a next one, you're starting from ground zero.
You're not building anything.
You're not building anything. You're starting from zero and it's superficial. It's not deep, right? And you miss out on the true beauty of a deep relationship. But also, you're not satisfied because you've got so many different choices. Mm-hmm. Then when you get married, you've got one choice. Hello, life's easy. You don't have to look at another woman again. Done, right? That gives you more ability to do good stuff. And it's funny enough, they say a lot, behind every great man is a great woman. And, men have got this urge to chase women as part of our whole sexual selection. Biology.
Yeah.
And when you commit to one woman, then you can use that energy in much better ways and creating something really good, like in business and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I feel that, you've given me a lot more energy to put in the business because I don't spend the energy chasing women or anything like that. It's great. Mm-hmm. So I feel a lot freer being in a commitment. Where people might think that reduce your freedom, I feel my freedom has expanded so much.
Yeah, that's good.
And living in the different places, right? Mm-hmm. You might think that's freedom, but being in one place gives you a certain freedom because it's there. It's freedom
and security as well.
Yeah, but then also
stability.
Jobs. Like if you start a job or a different career every couple of years, you can't get the fulfillment and satisfaction of doing the same career for 30 years straight.
But getting better at what you're doing,
which makes you a master because you want to be a master at what you do. Yeah, so there's so much to be said about less choice. And what's happening is we had no choices before because the church and the government told you what to do. Mm-hmm. Right? And now we've got the paradox of too much choice. And what's happening now with AI, we're starting to reduce our choices again. And pretty soon AI is going to take over a lot of our choices.
And our thinking,
Yeah, like for example, Waze, I put it in and it just tells me where to go, which way. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't have to think. And if there's blockage somewhere, I turn around. And there's less
and we
choice.
let TripAdvisor apps tell us which restaurants to eat at as well. So that's sort of taking our decision making away.
That's right. So pursuing a breadth of experience denies the opportunity of experience the rewards of depth of experience. The depth of experience is what it's all about. Mm-hmm. See, some experience you can have only when you've lived in the same place for 5 years, when you've been the same person for over a decade, and when you work in the same skill or craft for half your lifetime. Commitment gives you freedom because you're no longer distracted by the unimportant and frivolous. Commitment gives you freedom because it hones your attention and focus. Direct them towards what is most efficient at making you healthy and happy. Commitment makes decision making easier and removes any fear of missing out. Knowing that what you already have is good enough, why would you ever stress about chasing more again? Commitment allows you to focus internally on a few highly important goals and achieve a greater degree of success than you otherwise would. It's amazing, isn't it, when you think about it?
Absolutely.
We're up to the last part now. This is the fun part. And then you die.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. So, let's talk about dying.
Okay, let's do it.
Yep, I'm looking for the part that I highlighted. Confronting the reality of our own mortality is important because it obliterates all the crappy, fragile, superficial values in life. Mm-hmm. So the Stoics, the ancient Stoics used to say, that's the one thing that you need to remind yourself that one day you're going to be dead. That's the only certainty we've got. Nothing else is certain except for that one
Death and
fact.
taxes.
Yeah, but no, dying is certainly the only real certainty we have out of anything else. Mm-hmm. Wow. See, while most people whittle their days chasing another buck or a little bit more fame and attention or a little bit more assurance that they're right or loved, death confronts all of us with a far more painful and important question. What is your legacy? How will the world be different and better when you're gone? What mark will you have made? What influence will you have caused? Right? As Becca pointed out, this is arguably the only true important question in our life. Yet we avoid thinking about it. 1, because it's hard. 2, because it's scary. 3, because we have no fucking clue what to do. Right? But it's true. Without acknowledging the ever-present gaze of death, the superficial will appear important, and the important will appear superficial. Death is the only thing we can know with certainty, and as such, it must be the compass by which we orientate all our values and decisions. It is the correct answer to all of the questions we should ask but never do. The only way to be comfortable with death is to understand and see yourself as something bigger than yourself, to choose values that stretch beyond serving yourself and serving the community and making the world a better place. Right? So whether you listen to Aristotle or psychologists or Jesus Christ or the Buddha, they all say that happiness comes from the same thing, caring about something greater than yourself. Believing that you are a contributing component in some much larger entity. This feeling is what people go to church for. It's what they fight wars for. It's what they raise families and save pensions, build bridges, invent cell phones and do everything for.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
The sense of being part of something greater and more unknowable than themselves. And entitlement strips away from us. This is the last bit. We're so materially well off, yet so psychologically tormented in so many low-level and shallow ways. We really are. That's the society we've created. People relinquish all responsibility, demanding that society cater their feelings and sensibilities. People hold on to arbitrary certainties and try to enforce them on others, often violently and in the name of some made-up righteous cause. People hide a sense of false superiority, fall into inaction and legathy for fear of trying something worthwhile and failing at it. Our culture today confuses great attention with great success, assuming them both the same, but they're not. And this is it. You're already great, because in the face of endless confusion and certain death, you continue to choose what you give a fuck about and what not to. This mere fact, this simple opinioning for your own values in life already makes you beautiful, already makes you successful, already makes you loved, even if you don't realise it. Even if you're sleeping in the gutter and starving, you too are going to die. And that's because you too are fortunate enough to have lived.
Beautiful. Beautiful summary. Excellent.
Well, that was pretty deep. And look, I loved it. I'm really the happiest I've been for a long time.
It's very profound, yeah.
I really can't wait to solve my next problem. And hopefully you enjoyed this. And we'll see you. Look, there's quite a big episode. We're probably going to cut it in half.
Yep, so we'll do part 1 and then we'll do part 2.
Now,
so this is part 2, so thanks for listening to part 2.
We've got a Facebook group called The Ugly Truth, right? The Ugly Truth Podcast. Join the Facebook group if you want to start discussing things. Because what I like to do is I like to get more feedback from you guys and ask you what we want to talk about, because I want to bring the conversation more of a two-way thing. Not just one
absolutely,
way.
absolutely.
So
let us know what topics you want us to discuss.
And we'll bring it to you. Till next time, enjoy your problems. Good luck. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.